as a man, you have to detach yourself from your mother. Okay? This is something that's very different from when a woman detaches herself from her mother, because a woman doesn't really have to do that. A woman can strengthen her bond with her mom as she gets older. A man can also strengthen the bond with his mother, but at some point he has to cut the umbilical cord and disconnect. That disconnect has to happen in order for the boy to be a man. Okay? It's a wounding experience. The disconnect between a man transitioning into manhood or a boy transitioning into manhood, he has to disconnect from his mother. It's a requirement. And it is a wounding experience, okay? If you have a man or a boy who doesn't do this, they're subject to being stuck in boyhood their whole life. Okay? This is why rites of passages are so important in a man's life. We don't have rites of passages the way we did 100, 200 years ago, right? 200-300 years ago, the tribes understood there needs to be rites of passage for a boy to turn into a man. At least a psychological marker where the boy knows, hey, I'm entering a new phase in my life. Okay? And these rites of passage, they might seem silly or people are very dismissive about them, but they hold great value. Okay? It's a transitional stage in a man's life that's necessary. Okay? A woman can accept the protection of her mother. A man can only accept the protection of his mom if he thinks and feels like her. In order for a man to accept the protection of his mother, he needs to feel as she feels, right? If your mother says, this is dangerous and I'm going to protect you, the boy has to agree with that. The boy has to agree that that's dangerous. He needs to think like her. And there's nothing wrong with a boy thinking and feeling like his mother, but there's something to be said about the consequences about a boy thinking and feeling like his mother. A boy will never get a straight picture of his father if he only sees his father through the eyes of his mother. And the same could be said vice versa. Okay? You'll never get a clear, straight picture of your mother if you're seeing it through the eyes of your father. Okay? Sometimes you have one parent criticizing the other parent once they've separated. Right? They slander the person's name. So a boy has to detach himself from his mom specifically in order to transition into manhood. Why? Because he feels like his manhood is in jeopardy. Okay? His manhood needs to be preserved and it needs to be intact in and of itself without dependency to somebody else or without seeing things through the lens of somebody else. Okay? He needs to be able to hold his ground independently.